everybody, welcome back to Family Firearm Reviews. Today we're going to check out some Glocks. Now what we're going to look at is the Glock 19 Gen 5 versus the Glock 19X, but I've also got a few other things I have here. I have the original Gen 3 Glock, so this is a P80 that I built. So we're going to look at the differences here and are they compatible? How close are they to the actual Glocks that we have on the table? I also have a lower from my P80 19, so we're going to check that out with the lowers of the Glocks. See what's nice, because if you guys are looking at different routes, I know people want to know the differences. We're going to compare and contrast all these today. I'm going to give you my opinion on which one I like. So let's check it out. So with all of our firearms here today, they are unloaded as you can see. We have all the unloaded mags. So right now I'm going to work with the Glock 19 Gen 5 and the Glock 19X, and we're going to do a little bit of a comparison with the mags in them. So I'll pull those slides forward, and if I take my 15 round Glock mag right there, and I can put my 17 rounder here, because those are both the flush ones, we can look at kind of the height here. So if we look at the comparison of the firearms, thickness, they're going to be pretty much the same. Well, they're actually exactly the same because it runs on that Glock 19 slide. Now, where it's going to differ is our grips. So if we look at our grips here, and I can get these lined up, there you go, you can see that we're running that 17 grip, so it's a little bit longer, even with that flush magazine. Now, if we do the +2 magazine with the Glock 19, that's going to give us the 19 round mag, and we are going to be even longer there. So you can see how your grip is going to vary on this. Now, the barrels are the same, except we did swap the barrel out on this one, but literally, I could pull the barrel out of this one and put it in this one, no problem, because it is running off that Glock 19 platform. So let's get a deeper dive in, and let's get these apart. So now we're down on the table, we're going to disassemble these. Now, when I get these right here, it's the same typical Glock takedown. We pull back that little bit, pull down our bar, pull the trigger and release, and we've got our firearm separated. That's the same thing with the 19X. Very easy takedown for these firearms. Now we get inside the slides. They're basically identical. It uses the same recoil spring right here as we have in the regular 19. Now we have the barrel here is a little bit longer, so this is a threaded barrel. I gotta take the protector off to get it out. So we did swap this one out, and then we can pull our barrel out, and then we can pull our barrel out of the 19, right? So we have all the pieces. Internals look the same. These are a little dirty. We did shoot them as a comparison, but if you put these slides side by side like this, you can see they're basically identical to each other. There's really no difference except we get to the sights. So if you look at the sights here, we have the typical Glock sights on here, and you can even see that front one's a little smaller on the regular Glock 19 Gen 5, and these are also plastic where these are metal. The tolerance in the rear is actually where I noticed a big difference between the two. You can see on the regular Glock 19, the U sights, back in here, this is actually a wider window for you to get your front sight in the picture. This is actually a much tighter window, less tolerance. So when you get it in there, there's not very much room when you look through each side, which is kind of nice. It's definitely going to help your accuracy. Where this one, you've got a little bit more wiggle room. When I get that front pin in there, I can wiggle this side to side, and it actually kind of widens my sight shot just getting it on target. If you're a newer shooter, that might help you. Now, to show you that they are basically the same, I'm going to steal the barrel out of my 19, put it in my 19X. So we just slide our barrel in, we grab our recoil spring, get it in there, and then we can put this back together just like we would normally. So this is how your configuration is going to come normally with your regular 19. So they are pretty much interchangeable parts on this top end. This will function, as you can see. I can dry fire it here, safe direction, and it does work just fine. So the next thing I want to check out is these mag releases right here. So I'm going to take this firearm apart again. Got to pull her back first. Now, when you look at the mag release on the Glock 19 right here, it's actually a little bit closer to the firearm than my 19X. And I don't know if that's by design or what, but when I look at it, it actually sticks out more on my 19X than it does on my 19. It's also more squared off, and I have texture all the way to the edge of the firearm here, where on this one, I actually have a little bit of a rounded edge right here. Now, if I grab the low to my P80, you can see I have the extended, which it came with. So you can see there are some differences depending on the model you get. So we're going to compare our P80 now, right? We're going to grab this and see, first of all, the rail system's different. You have a more typical rail system where you have different areas where you can lock in light, laser, whatever you're going to have on the front. Where when we go with our Glocks, we just have the typical Glock front lock point where you could only have, one spot where you could lock in with a flashlight if you have a quick detach flashlight like that if it was smaller. Now also, if you look at the grips, you can see here I've got a little bit more aggressive texturing on my P80, and the P80s are actually wider, right? So now we're going to talk about the lowers, and I did grab my P80 Glock 19 to kind of compare and contrast that. Those have been getting more popular. People are starting to build their own lowers. I haven't got a slide for this one yet, but I did build the lower. It was kind of a fun little process. So we're going to check those out. Now these are off the Gen 3 platform, where these are both going to be off the Gen 5 platform. So if I grab my 19 lower and my 19X lower, right off the rip, they're pretty much similar. Side-by-side comparison, slide stop's the same, trigger's the same. I think this actually has a slightly heavier trigger, but that you're going to get that. You have the same Glock stippling all over both firearms, that little groove for your thumb. Not a lot of texture beyond that. Where it is a little different is the mag release. So this mag release is checkered all the way out to the end, and it actually sits in the firearm a little bit tighter. Where this one has a little rounded edge right here, and it actually, if you eyeball it, it sticks out just a hair more than my Glock 19. So if I grab my P80 though, this is where you're going to get a lot of the differences. My trigger guard has a definitely more aggressive cut on my P80, and I have more aggressive stippling, as you can see, all over the P80 versus my regular Glock. My stippling goes all the way up. There is no groove. I've got a very, very deep undercut here. I've got some cuts around the trigger that aren't normally there on Glock, and that aggressive stippling goes all the way around the firearm, so you can get a nice grip on the firearm. Now the beaver tails, those look about the same when you throw them side by side with these. And remember, you can grab the modular pieces and upgrade the beaver tails, make these larger for yourself if you need that. Now the internals, they're looking, pretty similar. No big differences there. All the internals are basically the same. The next place we're going to change is the pick rail. So you can see we have the pick rail up front. It actually has grooves where you can lock in different attachments. So if you have a quick detach light or laser, you can see we only have one pocket here where you have multiple pockets here. And the grooves in the firearm in the front, if you can look side by side right here, these are much deeper on that polymer 80 than in our regular Glock. These are very light, very small, where these are really deep. So that may affect what you have. You can also see right here on the front, and I'll grab the gray or the brown one because it's easier, the tan one. You can see you've got a lot more aggressive stippling on the front if that's somewhere you put your finger. That's not somewhere I typically put my finger, but you can feel when you're up on that section of the firearm. Now, if I grab my Gen 3 17 P80, you can see we have a lot of the same similarities. But what I like about this is, I don't have on these ones, is my front slide serrations. So when I built this, I ordered this slide. I think this was half off when I ordered the colored one, so it was a pretty cool little setup. But you got to put all this together. You get to actually build the internals to the slide, which is kind of fun. You can take apart the firearm. You can really get to know your firearm that way. So takedown is very much the same. Pull back, pull down, trigger. Ooh, I didn't pull it hard enough. There we go. And then the internals are pretty much the same as our Glock slides. We're just running on that Gen 3 platform. So now that we've looked at these lowers, let's grab our 17 lower. And you can see where we're going to compare this with the Glock 19X lower. Now, if we lay them over top of each other, the only thing different is this lanyard loop for thickness. But my actual 17 lower, as you can see, is longer. Now, if you look at that, you can see how much longer that is compared to the Glock 19X and my Glock 17 Gen 3. Again, it's that P80, so you're going to have that different pick rail. You're going to have a little bit more texturing and a little bit more of an aggressive undercut here. Now, depending on what you want, what you like, right, you can get different mag releases for these. I just went with the standard for my first one just to kind of put it together, and I did the same with this one. But as you can see, the P80s are much square, much more blocky grips, right? So when I put these in my hands, they're actually larger around than the typical Glocks. The Glocks fit my hand a little better. They're a little bit more comfortable. The grip angle in the rear is a little better. You've got a little hump here where you don't get that on the P80s. It's all very straight. So when you do get that, you're losing some of that comfortability of that grip, right? So when I point this, it's not as nice. There's not that nice bulge here for the bottom of my hand. to get this one, right? Where I have a nice purchase, this bulge, this rear piece right here really makes a difference. So when you do build these or you're looking into that, that's something you're gonna consider, the comfortability in your hand. Now, I'm gonna put these all back together and we're gonna discuss what they look like all together and how they compare and contrast. So we just put this on, they all go together. I mean, all of them, P80s or not, go together just like Glocks. You get them on the rail system, get them back there, and they are gonna be good to go. So I've gotta put all these back together. This one doesn't have one. We're gonna put the threaded barrel back in our Glock 19X, but it's super simple. That's why these are pretty nice firearms out there. They're easy for a first timer. They're not hard to take apart or put together. Glock's got a very good reputation. But I think the upgrades on the 19 are very nice. And I think the compatibility with the Gen 5, you know, upper slides and things like that are really something that sets this apart. Now it is built a little backwards for concealed carry, as you would think, and that's what a lot of people have their Glock 19 for, right? Because if you're carrying this all day, even if you carry it in a holster like this, so if I would put this in the holster, I carry it on my hip, you can see it fits in there very nicely, less grip sticking out, it's not going to poke me all day. Now if I go with the 19X, it does fit in the Glock 19 holster, but you see I've got that extended grip here, it may poke me throughout the day. Now when you get a polymer 80, right, they're a little bit more square up in here. This is not going to fit in your Glock 17, Glock 19 holster that fits my Gen 5s. You'll have to go out, make sure that you buy a holster. You know, even if they say they fit that generation, some of these are a little bit bulkier, you're going to run into that issue. So with these P80s, that's another thing you're going to run into. Losing a little bit of that grip texture, or gaining grip texture, losing a little bit of that comfortability for the grip, and some of the accessories aren't going to fit the same as they do with our typical Glocks out there. But I do like that I could order a slide with front slide serrations, and I think I put this together for like 499 bucks. So it's pretty cheap. It was kind of fun to do, put together. It still has that captured recoil spring. And I think, I haven't picked a top for this, but I think I got this lower for like $75 and put it all together, and that's with the trigger grouping and everything like that, the extended mag release. So it's kind of fun to do. I did put the flared mag well in there so it can make it easier for me to get the mags in. But these are going to take your typical 15 round Glock mags, no problem. They lock in there, you can release them. You can also run the 19X, you know, longer extended mags. We all know that with Glock, it's pretty cool. We have a lot of compatibility here throughout the different firearms. So I think if I was going to pick a firearm for, you know, maybe home defense, or if I was picking something for the range, maybe doing some of the pistol shoots that we do around the area, I think I would definitely go with the Glock 19X. The 19X is very comfortable. It gives you that extra grip so you could get your secondary hand in there very easily. The tighter sights in the metal night sights, the true glow sights, are really nice on this. The slide stop slide release being ambidextrous is very nice for shooters. You can swap your mag release if you were left-handed, and it does have the same Glock modularity where you could knock out this pin and you could add a different beaver tail, making this grip wider for yourself if you needed to. Now, I like the Glock 19 for concealed carry, hands down. You know, I'll take the 15 round capacity while I'm out and about. I get less imprint. And this is one of my carry pieces that I have. It's got lots of rounds through it. The one thing I do wish that I would see on, you know, future Glocks is those front slide serrations. And I know they're starting to do that, but my Gen 5 right here doesn't have them. The Glock 19X doesn't have them. And I think that's something they missed. But I also want to talk about the sights here. These metal sights that are durable. You can easily, in a combat situation, get them against a table or something and cock them if you're down a hand or something like that. The metal sights are definitely a great upgrade, and for the price, you're really not paying much of a difference between the two firearms here. So, again, with my 19, you can see right here, I have a hole up here for stripping, right? They took that away on the 19X. So that's why it's nice to have the larger 19-round base plates, so you have something to grip and yank out of there. And if we put the regular 17-rounders in there, they're very flush, and yeah, you can get your fingers in there if you do need to strip a mag, but it's not like the original 19 where you have that nice little cutout right there for stripping mags. So I think there are some upgrades here. There are some things left to be desired, but if I was going to the range, I'd go 19X. If I was going concealed carry, I would definitely go with a regular 19 just due to the smaller grip. So with all of these here today, the two that we were really focused on was the 19 and the 19X. One thing I can do is get the 19 to stand on its own, but without that little groove in the front, the 19X just always wants to fall over. So you got to hold it a little bit there. But I think that for what you're getting out of the Glock 19X, I think that's where I would definitely go. Even without swapping the barrel, I think this is a great firearm, especially for range, maybe some different shoots out there, 3-gun shoots. It was a very accurate gun, and I really did enjoy these sights. Now, you're going to have that same slide length, you're going to have the same width of like 1.3 inches that you get with the Glock 19, but you're going to get more purchase on your grip. And we know if we can get a better grip on our firearm, that's definitely going to increase our accuracy. It gives us tons of room for that support hand. Now, if you had bigger hands, this is definitely the route for you. Again, you're going to have more imprint on this firearm than you do on the Glock 19, but I think the give and take, you're getting a lot more advantages out of this for a very close price. You get the 17 and 19 round mags with it. It comes great with the box. Now, this everyday carry line, I do love it. This is what I'm going to continue to carry when I am out and about. This I usually carry in the winter when I've got a little bit more room. Other than that, I carry a Kimber R7. It's actually a little bit smaller than this. But the grip purchases, right? The angles of the grip, the comfortability in your hand is definitely there with the Glock. I wouldn't go with the P80 for my first, or overall, the grips are definitely blockier. You do get more texture, but you're losing the ergonomics that really are gonna make that gun comfortable in your hand all day. Now I did do two because everybody wants to build one, especially once you get into firearms. These are fairly easy to do. I would definitely recommend you giving one a shot, right? Be careful. There's lots of videos out there, so make sure you do watch them. But if you don't agree with me, let me know. Let me know what you think about the 19X or the 19. Which one's your favorite? Which one would you rather have, right? And I know the military, this is one that was in contention for them, and I think this was a great thing for Glock, and they have a lot of nice adaptations on here that make this a great combat firearm. Not just the color, but the firearm itself. But I do wish they would have put the front slide serrations on here. That is one thing I feel like it is lacking. So, hope to see you guys again. There's some links down below. Go ahead and check them out. Thanks for watching our video. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel.
Comment below. We want to hear from you. Get more content from family firearm reviews by joining our Patreon and checking out the links in the description.